The Almalekis had moved to the United States from Iraq when Noor was 4. Noor was the firstborn of Faleh and Seham Almaleki's 7 children. Her first name means light of God. She was thoroughly assimilated into American culture, but kept in touch with her Iraqi roots. She was fluent in Arabic and considered herself a Muslim, the same religion as her parents. But she had moved away from her parents in early 2009, not for the first time, after another blow-up over how she was living her life. Tight jeans, makeup, boyfriends, modeling photos, and an attitude that screamed independence and self-determination. Noor's photos, many of them lifted from her Facebook and MySpace pages, were displayed on sites across the internet. They showed a beautiful young woman with long black hair and a wistful expression. Noor rarely smiled in the photos, possibly because of embarrassment over braces she had worn for a while, but her friends say she was naturally upbeat, blessed with a sassy sense of humor that she employed even when times were tough. At school, she was known as a fun-loving student who made friends easily. She played tennis in a t-shirt emblazoned with the school mascot, a baby demon in a diaper. She liked to watch Heroes and eat at Chipotle. Sometimes she talked in a goofy Keanu Reeves voice. She wore dark jeans, jeweled sandals, and flowy tops from Forever 21. She texted constantly and called her friends "dude." In other words, she was an American girl, much like any other. But at home, Noor inhabited a darker world. She lived a life of subservience, often left to care for her 6 younger siblings. Noor's father, 49-year-old Faleh Almaleki, was strict and domineering, deeming it inappropriate for her to socialize with guys, wear jeans, or post snapshots of herself on MySpace. Her responsibility was to follow orders, or to risk a beating. From her father's perspective, the only time Noor's life would ever change would be when she married a man he selected for her, back in his homeland of Iraq. Noor, however, had a different vision for herself. Having lived in the US for 16 years, she held dreams of becoming a teacher, of marrying a man she loved, and, most importantly, of making her own choices. Noor's friends have different versions of what transpired, but it's clear that marriage was on the agenda. Friends say her father had had enough of Noor asserting her independence and talking to American guys, so he and her mother tricked her into traveling to Iraq, telling her they needed to visit a sick relative. Only upon arrival did Noor learn of the real reason for their trip: to marry her off. It's unclear whether a wedding actually took place. Some friends say she only attended an engagement ceremony. Others tell me they believe she did get married, albeit against her will. Still others say Noor was given a choice of 5 brothers, but her parents didn't like the one she chose, so the wedding was called off. Noor's parents, in police documents, maintained that a marriage did, in fact, occur. Whatever the case, Noor returned to Arizona a few months later without a husband and moved back in with her family. She missed her younger siblings, friends say, and her parents needed help caring for them. The Almaleki home is located in a Phoenix subdivision called Paradise Views. It's a comfortable-looking place that suggests the family was at least making a go of the more tangible aspects of the American dream. Noor's mother had been hired by a company in California to help prepare American soldiers for cultural differences they would face in the Middle East, an incongruous career path, given her struggle at home to perform such a role in her own daughter's life. In the months after Noor's return from Iraq, the mood in the Almaleki household was heavy with tension. Noor dutifully looked after her siblings and completed the schoolwork necessary for her high school diploma. But by May 2008, the family was in full crisis. Noor's father had found a photo of her with male friends on MySpace, and he didn't like it. The situation became so heated that she started talking about moving out. One day, when Noor took the family car to visit a cousin, her father reported it stolen. When she learned what he'd done, she left the car on the side of the road and walked away. According to police records, her father wanted to file criminal charges against Noor to teach her a lesson, telling police she was disgracing the family and that it didn't look good that she was moving out. Eventually, she did move in with a friend. But after repeated run-ins with her father, and after learning that her mother was casting spells on her host family, she gave up and returned home. Noor's 20th birthday, in February 2009, became a breaking point. After another family fight, this one in the middle of the night, she phoned a friend to come and get her. Noor came running out the door wearing her pajamas and carrying a purse and, oddly, a roll of gift wrap. As her father chased her across the lawn, Noor jumped into the back seat and the friend raced away. That night, Noor moved in with the friend who had picked her up, ultimately enlisting the police to protect her as she retrieved her things from the family home. And in the spring of 2009, Noor got her own apartment. Her friends helped her furnish it with a new mirror and a cloudy TV they found on Craigslist for $25. Noor worked hard to support herself. When Noor's parents learned where she was working, they started showing up and insisting that she move back home, so she got a job across town as a hostess at Applebee's. They turned up there too, leaving her no choice but to abandon that job as well. With no source of income, she was forced to return home once more. The final blow-up came that summer. In June 2009, longtime family friend Amal Khalaf awoke to find Noor sleeping in the family's van, parked in the driveway. Noor said her parents had hit her. Amal, a mother of 4, took her in. To Noor's family, this was the ultimate indignity. Their daughter had chosen to live with another Iraqi family instead of her own. On July 20th, Noor's parents entered Amal's home unannounced and began banging on Amal's bedroom door. Amal dialed 911. After that, Noor's father started regularly harassing the family. Amal's husband, Rakan, explained to him that Noor was free to live where she chose. "This is America," he said, according to police records. "This is the freedom we have." To complicate matters further, in the weeks that followed, a romance developed between Noor and Amal's son Marwan. When Noor's father found out, he threatened that if she did not leave that house, something bad was going to happen. Noor filed for a restraining order, but seems never to have finalized the paperwork. Noor Almaleki typed a text message to a friend. "Dude," she wrote at 1:06 p.m. on October 20th, 2010, "my dad is here at the welfare office." Noor, 20, hadn't seen her father, Faleh, since moving out of the family home in Glendale months earlier. His presence both startled and alarmed her. She knew he wouldn't rest until he'd regained complete control of her life. Noor sent her text message from inside an Arizona Department of Economic Security office in Peoria. Seated next to her was Amal Khalaf, her latest boyfriend's 43-year-old mother. "Let me remind you that Noor had lived at Amal's residence since leaving her parents' home after the latest fracas. Noor's boyfriend, Amal's 19-year-old son, Marwan al-Abadi, also lived there, and the Almalekis, particularly Noor's father, were enraged and shamed by the situation. From their perspective, a man's daughters are his property, and they must live with him until he decides otherwise. Amal was there to complete a change of address form for welfare benefits. She, too, is Iraqi by birth, but moved to the States only about a decade ago, and her proficiency in English was such that Noor came along to help translate. That was the day Faleh Almaleki, an unemployed 48-year-old trucker with no criminal record, took a grim step toward adding himself to that list of accused honor murderers. Noor sent a second text message after her father stepped into the Department of Economic Security office, this one to her best friend, Ushna Khan. "Dude, I'm so scared. Shit," she wrote. "At the welfare place, and guess who walks in? My dad. I'm so shaky." "Holy shit, did he see you?" Ushna quickly responded. "I don't think so," Noor typed. "His fat ass is right by the door, so I can't even leave. I'm laughing like a crazy person. I hate when this happens to me." "Oh dear, that's awkward," Ushna said. "What's up with your parents anyway?" "My dad is a manipulative asshole," Noor replied. "I've honestly never met anyone. so evil. Amal Khalaf watched as Faleh took a number at the counter and then sat near her and Noor. Faleh was on his own cell phone around the time that his daughter was texting. He spent 5 minutes speaking with his oldest son, Ali, 18 months younger than Noor. Faleh also spoke with a male relative in Detroit and several times with wife Seham. Minutes after he arrived, Faleh left the DES office without comment. At 1:32, Noor sent a final text to Ushna in which she appeared more relaxed. "What time do you get out of work?" Noor asked her friend. "Are you going to have time to meet?" Amal's number finally got called, and she and Noor stepped up to a counter to take care of business. That took several minutes. But Amal remained wary of Faleh. She knew how angry he was with her for allowing Noor to move into her home. Amal wanted to scope out the parking lot for Faleh and his 2000 silver gray Jeep Cherokee before leaving the DES office with Noor. Noor didn't seem as worried. She said her dad might spit on her if he had the chance. Nothing more. The coast looked clear, so they headed for Amal's van. But Amal soon discovered that she had locked her keys inside the vehicle. She and Noor retreated to the DES office to regroup. Amal called her son and asked him to bring by a spare key from home, about 20 minutes away. It was a sunny, 85-degree day, and Amal wanted to wait just outside the front door of the DES office. But Noor was thirsty. She suggested they go to the nearby Mexican restaurant for a cold drink. The pair walked west along the sidewalk next to the office and started across the lot. Seemingly out of nowhere, Amal saw a vehicle coming right at them. She lifted her hands in defense, as if to stop the inevitable. In that moment, she could see Noor Almaleki behind the wheel.
What did you do when you saw him?
سويتي لما شفتي like this I did no.
When did you first see him?
أول مرة شو وقت شفتي
قريب علي يعني
close to me.
كان جاي بسرعة.
He was driving so fast.
The Jeep smashed into the women. It dragged Noor across a curbed median and left her splayed on the pavement, unconscious and bleeding. The impact hurled Amal Khalaf about 27 feet. She suffered a broken pelvis, broken femur, and myriad cuts and bruises, but she remained conscious. Peoria police later estimated that the SUV was moving as fast as 30 miles per hour. Faleh sped out of the parking lot and turned west on Peoria Avenue. Noor was barely alive, having suffered massive brain and spinal injuries, as well as many broken bones. Amal soon provided police with a possible motive. She said the Almalekis were furious with both her and Noor about the current living arrangement. Amal explained that Faleh had been hell-bent to show her and his daughter who was boss, who was in control. Within minutes of Faleh's fleeing the bloody scene, he spoke by cell phone to his wife, to son Ali, and to at least 2 other members of his extended family. Whether Faleh assaulted the women on the spur of the moment or premeditated his action, he had time to reflect on what he did. Run over 2 defenseless women, one of whom was his firstborn child. 3 Peoria police detectives went to the Almaleki residence at 5 p.m. on October 20th, about 3 hours after the assaults. Noor's brother, Ali, opened the front door. He was in a tough spot. Ali once had been close to his sister, but the feud between Noor and their parents had taken its toll, and the siblings hadn't spoken in weeks. Ali later told friends in an email that he had taken to calling his sister vile names before they stopped speaking. He told Detective Chris Bowe that things at his parents' home had been increasingly strained since Noor had returned from Iraq after leaving her arranged marriage. To Ali's way of thinking, his sister had dishonored the Almaleki family. Ali said Noor had been most disrespectful to their parents, to him too, since her return, and continued to reject traditional Iraqi values. The young man mentioned his own problems with his father, whom he described as a chronic gambler who liked to frequent Phoenix area Indian casinos. Ali's mother, Seham, had been calling him over the past few hours, he said, saying that something had happened to Noor. But Ali swore to detectives that he didn't know what had befallen his sister. On October 24th, Ali Almaleki spoke with a television reporter about his sister. He said she had been going out of her way being disrespectful to their parents. Ali continued, "The boy, Marwan Alabadi, that is supposedly her boyfriend now. I don't like him." He contrasted Iraq and the United States, saying, "Different cultures, different values. One thing to one culture does not make sense to another culture." But he noted that seeing Noor at the hospital just broke my heart. Nobody should have to go through that. Ali said his father had called home the previous day to ask about Noor's condition, but my mom yelled at him and hung up. Faleh Almaleki crossed the Mexican border into Nogales, Sonora, about the same time that Ali was being questioned in Glendale. Faleh soon parked his Jeep in a mall parking lot and checked into a hotel. At 5:30, he called his Phoenix cousin, Jamil. The next day, October 21st, Peoria police issued a warrant for Faleh Almaleki's arrest, alleging, at that point, 2 counts of aggravated assault. That day, a detective contacted Noor's mother by phone. Seyham Almaleki said she was driving back from her job in California. She claimed all she knew was that there was a family problem of an unspecified nature. The detective, Bill Lying, then told Seyham that her husband had intentionally slammed into Noor and Amal with his Jeep and fled. "This woman is a liar. This woman is dirty. Her family is dirty," Seyham told Lying, referring to Amal Khalaf. She said repeatedly that she hadn't communicated with her husband about the incident. Lying told Seyham that Noor's condition was grave. She replied that she wanted to see her daughter as soon as possible. But the detective said he was concerned that Seyham and others might pose further danger to Noor. Ironically, given the circumstances, she continued, "I'm a Muslim. We can't kill our daughter."
Your daughter is about close to dying.
Close to die?
Yes, she's in critical
Okay.
condition.
Tell her thank you, Amal. Thank you. That's what she needs. She needs to break this family. That's what she needs.
You're a sick individual.
I want to see my daughter.
You just sat there and told me that everything that happened to them was okay. And now all of a sudden you have concern for your daughter. No.
On October 22nd, 2 days after the assaults, a Glendale pharmacist told police that someone had phoned in a prescription for Faleh Almaleki. Faleh remained a fugitive as his daughter, comatose and unresponsive, clung to life. That day, Peoria detectives learned that on October 22nd, a young man, possibly of Middle Eastern descent, and a woman wearing a veil had picked up prescription medicine for diabetes in Faleh's name. Detectives returned to the Almaleki home on October 26th for a follow-up interview with Ali and his mother, Seyham. By now, the detectives had examined phone records, which showed that Faleh had been in touch with his immediate family and others around the time of the assaults. Seyham admitted that she had lied in her earlier interview with police, but she continued to deny knowing her husband's whereabouts. Mother and son also admitted they had picked up the medicine at the pharmacy, but Seyham insisted she had thrown the pill bottles out of her car window, though she couldn't come up with a reason for having done so. Seyham again blamed one-time friend Amal Khalaf for what had happened in the DES office parking lot. Amal got what was coming to her, Seyham alleged, because she is the matriarch of a family allegedly flush with drug abusers and thieves. By contrast, Seyham told the detectives, "We have a good family." Later that evening, Ali Almaleki met alone with Detective Bauge at a Glendale restaurant. Out of his mother's presence, he provided new details of his father's call to him before the assaults. Faleh had just seen Noor and Amal at the DES office. He said his father sounded angry, so he told Faleh to go home. But Ali said Faleh phoned him later to say he had run down Noor and Amal with his car. During the conversation, Faleh told Ali to man up because he wouldn't be around anymore. On October 27th, British customs officials informed U.S. immigration authorities that Faleh Almaleki was in custody in London. Faleh had arrived on a plane from Mexico City using his own name and his U.S. passport. A computer check showed that Faleh was a wanted man in Arizona. British Customs soon put Faleh on a Delta flight to Atlanta, where the feds have a port of entry for incoming fugitives. On October 28th, Mexican authorities in Nogales contacted Peoria police. They had found Faleh's Jeep, the missing weapon, in a mall parking lot. Crime scene investigators later found hair, fiber, and human tissue on and under the front bumper of the vehicle. On October 29th, Peoria detectives Chris Bauge and Jeff Balson sat across from their suspect in Georgia. Noor Almaleki waived his Miranda rights against self-incrimination, which meant the detectives could have at him. At first, Faleh told them he had run over the two women in a freakish accident after coincidentally finding them at the DES office. "If I want to try to kill my daughter, why would I kill my daughter with a vehicle?" he asked, trying to sound reasonable. "I have no problem with my daughter. This is not the first time she left the house. If I want to kill her, I go buy a gun. I know where they live. I just lost control of the car." Detective Bowie asked him whether he had been trying to scare the women. The detectives picked away at the murky account. "I've been angry," Faleh replied, "and I lost control. I lost the brain." But he continued to insist that no premeditation was involved. Like his wife, Faleh faulted Amal Khalaf for what had happened. He claimed she had stolen their daughter from them. He insisted that he loved Noor, noting that his cell phone contained several photos of her. But, as if it were a self-evident truth, Faleh said his daughter should not have become so Americanized, that it was wrong. Faleh said he had stayed at the Nogales Hotel for 2 nights, during which time a stranger gave him about $1,900 in cash for his Jeep and agreed to make sure some paperwork got to Ali. The detectives told him this sounded implausible, but Faleh wouldn't budge. Though unconfirmed, a far more likely scenario is that Faleh's cousin, Jamil Almaleki, or someone else close to the Almalekis, delivered the money, diabetes medicine, and a suitcase filled with clothes that Faleh had with him when British authorities collared him. Detective Bouguet asked Faleh whether his family was on his side. Perhaps, the detective said, his attack had restored some of the honor supposedly lost by Noor's lifestyle choices. Faleh didn't reply directly, saying he would certainly help a friend or family member in a similar predicament. "It's our culture," he explained. Faleh asked the detective what he would do if he had such a disobedient daughter. Bowie responded that he would not crush his daughter with a car. He soon asked Faleh again whether he had meant to hurt the women. Yes, Faleh Almaleki finally confessed, he had. "If your house has got a fire in just part of the house," he said, "do we let the house burn, or do we try to stop the fire?" Faleh then admitted that his daughter Noor was the small fire he was forced to extinguish. He was booked into the Clayton County Jail, Georgia, and waived extradition. On October 31st, the Peoria detectives escorted him back to Arizona. At Faleh's initial appearance in Phoenix later that day, a judge set his bail at $5 million. Doctors at John Lincoln North Hospital pronounced Noor Almaleki clinically brain dead at 7 a.m. on November 2nd. Her family decided to take her off life support. Several members, including her mother and brother Ali, were by Noor's bedside when her heart stopped beating at 11:54 a.m. Days later, a Maricopa County grand jury indicted Faleh on charges of first-degree murder, attempted first-degree murder, aggravated assault, and leaving the scene of an accident. Noor's violent death struck a nerve worldwide, especially after a county prosecutor officially attached honor killing to it. Noor Almaleki's life never was the same after she rebelled against her parents and their culture and left her arranged marriage. On and off, she tried over the final year or so of her life to live with her family, but it didn't work. Faleh and Seham considered her tainted, someone who had humiliated them by leaving the Iraqi husband her father had chosen for her. Faleh was livid when, after Noor's return from Iraq, he found a seemingly innocent snapshot of her and a few guy friends. In his mind, Noor shouldn't have been chummy with men other than her husband, to whom she remained legally married. But Noor stood up for herself. The photographs on Noor's page were not racy, just photos of a young woman with a uniquely beautiful face. Noor found work as a server at an Applebee's restaurant, where she made new friends. One of her co-workers, Nicole Farrugia, recalls that Noor quit after her father learned that she was employed at an establishment that serves liquor. Some of Faleh and Seham's concerns about their daughter's living arrangement may have been justified. Last August 6th, Glendale police arrested Marwan Al-Abadi on charges of assaulting Noor, allegedly as she tried to break up his fight with an unnamed third party at Amal's home. Authorities accused Marwan of breaking and lacerating Noor's nose during the clash, which he denied. The domestic violence charge was still pending when Noor died. At home recovering from her injuries, Amal Khalaf told Peoria police in December that she had taken in Noor because the young woman had nowhere else to go after leaving her parents' house. Giving Noor shelter had been her sole concern, not facilitating Noor's romantic relationship with her son, Amal stressed. Just days before the assaults, Amal said, she had persuaded Noor to reach out to her parents in an effort to get a dialogue going. In the weeks after his arrest and subsequent incarceration at the Maricopa County Jail, Faleh Almaleki spoke often by phone with family members. Authorities secretly taped every word. "How is she now?" Faleh asked cousin Jamil during one conversation. Faleh and his family spoke in Arabic during the jail conversations, which were later translated into English. "Who's she?" Jamil asked. "Noor," Faleh said. "Noor died, brother," Jamil said. "What?" Faleh asked. "Yes, she's gone, Faleh. Now, look after yourself." "Brother," Faleh replied, "talk to the lawyers and tell them it was not intended to be a murder." Faleh told Jamil to ask the Iraqi consulate to intervene with the American government. "Connect it to honor and dishonor and, I don't know, whatever," he said. "And an Iraqi is worth nothing without honor." Jamil agreed, saying, "This is the base of the story. Newspapers wrote about this issue. It's happening now, and the internet and whole world is writing about this subject." Faleh continued to go over the honor-killing theme in phone calls with his wife. "Listen," he told Seham, "have friends sit across from the U.S. consulate in Iraq and hold signs saying, 'The Iraqi honor is precious.' Signs saying that I'm not a criminal, that I didn't break into someone's house, that I didn't steal. You know what I mean? And for an Iraqi, honor is the most valuable thing." Faleh went on with his riff. "No one hates his daughter, but honor is precious, and nothing is better than honor, and we are a tribal society that can't change. I didn't kill someone off the street. I tried to give her a chance, but no result." Seham chided her husband at one point for having rushed into it, presumably referring to his violent act. "Seham, don't blame me," Faleh protested. "Can you watch Amal's demeanor and do nothing? You can't. Amal brought it upon her." "Amal brought it upon her," Seham repeated. Another call between the couple revealed more. "Noor is gone, Faleh," Seham said, crying as she spoke. "I lost my daughter. My daughter is gone." "I told you," Faleh replied. "Your daughter was gone anyway." "No, Faleh," his wife continued. "She's gone. My daughter is gone. Noor is gone. And what about me?" Faleh responded. "You are gone," his wife concluded. The trial began in January 2011. It was the first honor killing to be tried in the state of Arizona. Amal Khalaf testified for the prosecution. A Phoenix jury convicted an immigrant from Iraq of second-degree murder, Tuesday, February 22, 2011, for running over and killing his daughter in a case termed an honor killing by prosecutors who said the father carried out the attack because he believed his daughter had become too westernized. Faleh Almaleki, 50, also was convicted of aggravated assault for injuries suffered by the mother of his daughter's boyfriend during the October 2009 incident in a suburban Phoenix parking lot, and 2 counts of leaving the scene of an accident. Defense lawyers called Noor's death and the severe injuries to Amal Khalaf an accident. They say he only wanted to spit on the older woman, who Almaleki thought helped his daughter stay away from her family. A detective testified that Almaleki acknowledged under questioning by police that he intentionally ran her over. But the transcript of the taped interview showed he repeatedly called the incident an accident. Khalaf also testified during the 4-week trial, saying he ignored her screams to stop before he struck her and then ran down Noor. Almaleki, who wore headphones as he listened to an interpreter, showed little emotion when the jury read the verdict. In April 2011, Faleh Almaleki was sentenced to 34 years in prison. Ali Almaleki and the rest of his family chose to keep their silence at the sentencing. Faleh Almaleki, flanked by his 2 attorneys, shuffled to the lectern in front of the judge and started by apologizing in a squeaky little voice to everyone in sight, Amal Khalaf, to his own family, and to the judge himself. "I wish I was dead and not her," Almaleki said, referring to Noor. The expression of remorse was a far cry from what he said to his wife in secretly recorded jailhouse tapes after his arrest. The tapes exposed a couple whose sole concern was how to invent a story that would take the heat off him. Judge Steinle took more than a half hour to impose sentence, telling Almaleki that his was the most difficult case I've had to sentence in my 6 years on the bench. He said it had troubled him from day one that the press gave the case a moniker. "It was the honor killing, and it bothered me. I cannot believe that a religion would allow someone to kill other human beings,"